everybody, Paul Abernathy here. Welcome back to another episode where we're going to do some exam prep. If you've never seen our program before, we are the creators of the Fast Track system. It's a system that's designed to teach you the National Electrical Code. It's jam-packed with 19 units. There's a bunch of competency reviews. There's literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of questions that you can hone your skills on. All of it's already included in our Fast Tracks program. But you know what? You can also get the database of questions that we're going to use today separate. You don't have to get the program to get the database of questions. But if you truly want to learn the NEC, you're going to want to check out fasttracksystem.com. There is no better way to learn the National Electrical Code, whether you're preparing for a license, whether it's your electrician's license, whether it's for electrical inspector license, or even learning the National Electrical Code for your engineering exams, things like that. No better course than our Fast Track system. It's based on the 2020 or the 2023, whichever one you choose. We encourage you to check it out on our website. And we have a basic and enhanced. The only difference in the two is the enhanced also gives you 12 months of access to Fast Track's Tube. Now, Fast Track's Tube is our own proprietary video platform without all the commercials. Again, it's a subscription program, but it is included with the enhanced program over at fasttracksystem.com. All right. Let's get into some questions, and hopefully you've watched some of our other videos where we talk about how to dissect a question, and we're going to assume some things here, but we're going to look at some questions. So this episode, we're going to focus specifically on the questions. We will use the index where necessary, but we're also going to talk through certain things that you should know at this stage. Now, let me explain. You should not prepare for an electrical exam by just doing exam questions only. And if you watch my other videos, you'll learn that you don't need to time yourself until you get down to the last 2 weeks before your exam. Prior to that, take your time, dissect the question, learn what's in the index, learn what's not in the index, learn how to look at a question and pick out the key phrases that are going to help you find the answer in the NEC if you don't happen to know it. Now, with our program, it gets repetitious, so a lot of these questions will just be old hat for you. You'll see it, you'll know it right away. Why? Because you studied the right way through a structured program. Okay, now, but if you do want to buy the questions, they are available over on our website, fasttracksystem.com, as well as some flashcards, some electronic flashcards. They're there as well, so you can learn all of the articles and code references. It just makes it easy to be able to spit out 440 for air conditioning and refrigeration, 430 for motors, 422 for appliances, 400 for cords. It just allows you to be able to spit these things out very quickly. And if you're interested in that, check out our website. All right, so let's look at some questions here. All right, so this question we have right here says, let's see here. Transformers shall be marked with its impedance rating if the rating at blank kVA or more. So if it's at blank kVA or more, it's going to have to be marked with this impedance rating. Okay, so is it 15 kVA? 25 kVA, 50 kVA, or 100 kVA? Which is it? Okay, well, first things first, let's identify this question. Well, obviously, we're talking about transformers, right? So it's pretty straightforward. That's what we're talking about. Now, the other thing we're asking in this question is it's markings. So we have impedance markings and the marking requirements for this transformer. Now, if you've done your training and you've gotten our flashcards or you've been looking through the table of contents and that you'll realize that when you're dealing with transformers, you're going to be in Article 450. Let's say you didn't know that and you're like, okay, I don't understand where I need to be in transformers. Well, that is what we're talking about, transformers. So let's go to the table of contents and, let's go to the index and look under transformers. Let's do that first. So let's assuming that you're lost. We'll go into the index, and here we are. And let's go on down here, and let's go into transformers. Oh, actually, let's go like we said. Let's go to the index. Let's share this one instead. All right. So let's go down to transformers. All right, so we'll see where we're at. We're in G. So let's go on down into transformers. And once we get down into transform, okay, so here's T. All right, so let's go on and go through here and get down into transformers and see what we have. It's TA. All right, transformers. Okay, well, we know that it is 450 because it says it right here. Okay, so now you notice how you have the header here and then it's kind of bold, and then you have this like offsets down here. That means these are specific to transformers. So again, you know that you're looking down here, and what are we looking for? We're looking for things that were in the question to see if it has it, like markings or impedance ratings or anything like that that may throw something up to us. Also, you could use bold scanning and go to Article 450 and scan those bolds and look for markings and things like that. Obviously, it's a KVA rating, so it'll be 10, 25, 50, or 100. All those things, even the answers in the question, can be very beneficial to you. All right, so let's go on back here. All right, so let's see here. We got audio, we got auto transformer, ballast, dimmers, grounding, motors, okay, definitions, disconnects, dry type, discharge, fire pump, grounding, hazarded. Let's see here, installation, isolation transformer, and you see how these are indented underneath isolation, so they're specifically with that. Location and accessibility. Let's see, go here, markings. All right, transformer markings, 450.11. All right, so first thing you're going to do, as I always do, remember, even in an exam, you have your scratch paper that you're going to make sure you know where you're at, so you know it's 450, that's your article. And then you're going to write down anything you find in the index under it, and we're going to put .11, .11. All right, now we're going to see while we're here, okay, so this is a marking requirement, so I probably could jump right to that. But while you're in the index, remember, as we're studying, you want to make sure you look and see what else could the index reveal to us. So let's go look at it. All right, so anywhere else, so it's a .11, so it's in the very front, so it's under the general. So let's see if there's anything else under here. There's overcurrent protections, not really what it's talking about. Signaling lightings, let's see if there's anything else down here. All right, so nothing else here, okay? But while we're here, let's go look real quick under markings, just for kicks and giggles. So we're already here, so let's go up to M. And let's see here. Okay, so let's just see, all right, here's markings right here. And then we're going to remember that's indented right here. So let's go markings. Let's see if there's anything under here for transformers. Okay, flexible grounding, blah, 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 going down. And I'm not seeing anything, or at least I'm not sticking out to me about transformers on here. Okay. It also can help you by looking at the actual article, because if you know you're working with transformers, so if you look at it, see if there's any reference to 450 anywhere, so it can kind of speed you up if you're looking for markings. So I don't see anything. There's nothing in here, so there's nothing been beneficial in here for that. But now you know that. Okay, moving forward, and again, you're spending valuable time in the index, which is going to ultimately make you better in the long run. Okay, all right. So we know it's transformers. We know .11. Okay, now we could go right to .11, but I also want to show you, if you didn't know and you knew that it's 450, let's do a bold scan real quick and see if that puts us right there. Just remember, these are techniques. It would not be a problem for you to immediately go to .11 because it did say markings. But again, there's a method to the madness, learning and seeing what else you can be able to find inside the index, and learning your bold skills, because there are going to be some questions you get that you're going to go to the index and you're not going to see it. So you're going to end up going to 450 and you're going to have to do bold scanning. So why do I like to talk about it? Because you need to get your money's worth out of these questions. You paid good money for them. Use them. You don't have to be so quick. In fact, I always tell people this. Trust me. In our program, I'm going to give you over 800 plus exam style questions, whether they're part of the competency review or in the database. You've got plenty of questions to use them to dissect and increase your skills, but I've also got plenty of questions for you to use in those last 2 weeks to time yourself. And I don't mean use the timer that's built in. I mean use an egg timer, your phone 2-minute timer, whatever. Every question gets done individually. I don't want you to set a 2-hour timer and try to answer it in 2 hours. I don't want you to do that. I want you to focus on each individual question and time yourself. Why do I do that? Because if I do a question in 2 minutes and I look down and it's 2 minutes and 30 seconds and that alarm is still going off, that tells me for that specific question, I'm struggling. There's something that's not being identified in the question. And that is critically important, because something you're not connecting with. Whereas if you just go with the timer and do a 2-hour timer, you're just rushing like you would on an exam. You're going to get there. I need you to dissect it. I need you to take the time and focus, okay? If an educator tells you otherwise, they're not much of an educator. Trust me. I've been doing this for nearly 40 years. There's a method to the madness. That's why the fast track system is the leading exam prep system on the market, because people have success with it if you follow the plan. I'm just saying, there's a proven success record here. You got to follow it, okay? All right, so let's go here and go to the NEC, and we're going to do some bold scanning here. All right, so we're going to go down to 450 and looking for markings. So here we go. All right, so we're at 450. Now, here's bold scanning, folks. You ready? All right, so we know we're looking for impedance. We know we're looking for KVAs. We know we're looking for the word marked or markings. So we're going to bold scan here. Scope, not what we need. Interconnection, there's nothing in here. Quickly scanning it. Nothing in here about markings. You don't see anything about the KVAs in here. Okay, nothing in there. Nothing in there. Okay. Nothing in there. Auto transformers, not what you're talking about. So you're just moving along. You're bold scanning. Not in there. Okay, so I can skip straight off of that. Not talking about secondary ties. Parallel operations, not what we're talking about. Let's keep on going. Guarding, we're not talking about that. Ventilation, it's not part germane to the question. Grounding and bonding is not part of this. Boom, markings immediately. And it was correct, 450.11. But that's how you bold scan. Now, real quick, focusing on the question. What is it asking? Transformers shall be marked with its impedance rating if rated at blank kVA or more. Okay, so back to the lesson right here. Impedance. Okay, so it says they shall be provided. Again, this is under marking. Impedance of transformers 25 kVA and larger. Right there. Okay, item number 5. So the code reference is 450.11A5. And remember, we're in the 2023 edition of the NEC. For those out there who say, Paul, you didn't tell us what edition you're on. Okay, so we're on the 2023 edition of the NEC. But I'll remind you, folks, these techniques in this style doesn't matter which cycle you're on. It's the same concept. It's the same bold scanning. It's the same using the index and getting familiar with all the terminologies. It's all the same. Okay, all right, so we're back here. And we have our options, and we're going to go with 25. And there it is, and there's our reference, 450.11A5. Okay? All right, let's do another one. All right, capacitor cases shall be connected to a or an blank. Okay? An ungrounded conductor, equipment grounded conductor, isolated neutral conductor, or grounded conductor. Folks, you have time on each question. You don't need to guess. Okay? This is why I have you do each question individually and look it down, because the more you do this, the more you're going to get familiar with the code. Because you're going to probably know by now, if you've been in our program, you're going to know that you're dealing with capacitors, right? And capacitors have a specific code article for capacitors. Now, let's say you didn't know that. You haven't gotten our little flashcards, which we sell on our website, electronic flashcards, so that you can start rattling off. And maybe you don't know the article. Okay, well, you can go to the table of contents of what? The NEC, or capacitors are pretty specific. You can go to the index if you want. And again, at the index, you might even see something that is germane to some of the answers here. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, so let's assume we didn't know what article it was. Then we're going to go over here, and we'll go to the index right here. And then we'll go down and we'll go to capacitor. Let's take it all the way up to C's real quick. And we'll go to capacitor. See if we've got anything under it. All right, there's C. And we got to get up to A. All right. M, N, O, P. Okay, there's capacitors. And you'll see that it is Article 460. Now, remember, these are indented off to the side. So now we're going to see, by chance, is there anything about connected to? Is there anything about any of the references in the answers? So let's see here. So if we're looking, we're going to see here, motors. Okay, oh, wait a minute. So we're dealing with thousands and under. Okay, and that's what we're assuming unless stated otherwise. It just talked about a capacitor, so it didn't say anything about being over 1,000. So here we see grounding, 460.10, okay? And you see markings and means of discharge. So all of this is right together, .8, .10, .12, .6, okay? All right, so makes sense that that would be there. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna immediately just jump, and also you'll notice something. It is not very big, folks. .10, .8, .24, not big at all. Okay, .26, they're not like we're dealing in .165s or stuff like that. So you could go right to grounding, or because you're like, well, the question is ungrounded, equipment ground, grounded conductor, which is neutral in most cases, not all cases, but in most cases, obviously a neutral is a grounded conductor, but not all grounded conductors are neutral. That's for another topic. But bold scanning is going to work the best here, okay? That's what we're going to look for. So let's do that. So let's go to bold scan. And we're going to share this here. And we're going to go to 460. And right here, capacitors. All right, so bold scanning. What are we looking for? We're trying to talk about the capacitor case, right? So let's see here. Scope, enclosure, and guarded. Again, not really talking anywhere in here about any of the conductors that are in our question. Contact has nothing to do with it. Okay, all right, 1,000 volts or less, assume that unless stated otherwise. Discharge, stored energy. We're not talking, the question wasn't about discharging. Conductors, it really wasn't about the conductors. Rating is set into overload, it wasn't about that. Grounding, oh, boom, immediately. Capacitor case. And then you see shall be connected to the equipment grounding conductor, right? So that just sticks out, and that's how quickly bold scanning got us where we needed to be. So over here, it says that capacitor case shall be connected to the equipment grounding conductor. Right there, and there's our reference, 460.10. It's just that simple. Now, if you don't know the articles, I encourage you, it's going to make you better as somebody preparing for an exam. Is part of your study routine is try to get more familiar with the articles so that you can just rattle them off, right? And we have a great little flashcard program. It's really inexpensive, like $9, $10, that is electronic, and it will just constantly drill you with all these different articles so you can just rattle them off. And the quicker you can do that, the quicker it's going to make it better. In this case, you probably know that capacitors is a very small article. Bold scanning is going to save you time unless you already knew the answer. In our program, you probably already knew the answer. But if you didn't, you would have immediately seen capacitor and you would have thought Article 460. I remember Article 460 because of my studying is very short article. Boom, I'm going to use bold scanning technique rather than wasting a lot of time back in the index. You'll get used to this, relax. It just takes time to do it. Some of these questions are not going to be this cut and dry, and you really have to put yourself in that mindset that not every question is going to be written perfect. But if you think about your training, if you think about your studying habits, you think about your field slang and jargon, put it all together, you can find where you need to be. And it's just going to get better for you as you do it, okay? There's no holy grail, except for I will tell you, the Fast Tracks program is designed to work in any state because we don't focus on local amendments or state amendments. We just teach the National Electrical Code. Most exams are based on the NEC. So even if the exam had some nuances that were local, it's not going to railroad you because most of the time they're going to be pulling it from the National Electrical Code, and that's what we focus on. Now, that doesn't mean that you may have an exam somewhere for a contractor's exam, which we don't focus on. We just do electrician exams. And again, we are asked all the time, is your exam prep tailored for Washington State or Illinois or Wisconsin? And the answer to that is no. We teach you the NEC. It's your responsibility for those other little nuances, depending on what license you're trying to get. But you'll already be ahead of the curve if you understand how to look at a question, how to dissect it. And of course, if you need to learn calculations, that course right there has some very intense calculations, okay? 1 family dwellings, 2 family dwellings, multifamily dwellings, all of it's covered. Commercial calculations, all covered. And if you get the enhanced program, you even have videos on things like range calculations, motor calculations, transformer calculations. All those types of things are in the enhanced program because you also get access to Fast Track's Tube, our video platform. Okay. All right. So there you go. Easy peasy. Let's do another one. All right. Lithium-ion batteries, storage batteries, shall be rated at blank volts per cell. Okay, so this one right here, immediately you may be thinking, wait a minute, this is storage battery. I'm going to go to batteries. That might be what you think when you see this one, okay? But look at it real closely. Doesn't this read like a definition? It's basically saying, hey, a lithium-ion type storage battery shall be rated at blank. Now, you can go to batteries, go into 480, and look at it and say, well, is that going to give us anything? This is really a question that's saying, well, this is about a type of battery. This is more of a definition type of thing about batteries and storage batteries. And because there's a bunch of different types of storage batteries. I'll show you what I mean. Let's go to the NEC. So let's just say I didn't know, okay? And let's go to the index. So I'll share this index. And let's go to batteries real quick. All right, and let's see, let's go, here we go. We're at the A. And let me see if there's anything under batteries. All right, here's batteries, right here, okay? So when it talks about batteries, because there's different types, you obviously, definitions, Article 100. It's going to talk about batteries. But you'll notice down here that it is not specific to lithium ion. There's a bunch of different types of batteries, okay? Now, it just talks about batteries in general, markings, not about the battery itself, but just about batteries, in general. But that's batteries. So what about storage batteries? Okay, let's go look under that, and I'll show you why this looks more like a definition. And you will tell as you get used to it what really looks like a definition and what doesn't. So let's go on real quick, though, and look under storage batteries real quick. All right, so we're down, and let's get on down in here. Okay, so I'm going to look under storage. So here we go, storage batteries right here, 480. Now I'm looking at all these underneath it and seeing if there's anything in here. You see definition again, okay, Article 100, which is going to talk about various types of batteries, because storage batteries can be various types. We happen to be talking about lithium ion, but I don't see anything in here specific that says anything specific germane to lithium ion. So that should be a trigger for you, but let's keep looking. All right, looking down, location, no, vents, termination, support, none of this, okay? So I'm going to go to the index, okay? So let's go here, and I'm going to go to, I'm going to go to the definitions, not index. We're going to Article 100. All right, and I'm going to look under, all right, so we have battery, okay, right here. So we have a battery. This kind of just tells us what a battery is. Okay, got it. But we're going to be looking at what? So I want to look and see if there's anything under, anything that I might be. Okay, so what is the question? What is really the question? Hold on. Wait a minute. Are we missing a key component? We're looking for the rating in voltage. So we're looking for voltage ratings, right? So I'm looking under the wrong thing. And I just show you there is no storage. Let's see here. Let's go down real quick, just so you can see. All right, down here. All right, just so you see. All right, here's dry. Here's stationary, stand. Okay, you don't see anything down here about that. So what are we looking for? We're looking for voltage. So let's see what we got down here. All right. Let's go back up here. Voltage, right here. So we've got voltage of a circuit. Voltage, voltage, voltage. Ah, what does this say? Oh, y'all can't see it. It would help if you could see it. There you go. So under voltage, notice this right here. Voltage, nominal, as applies to battery or a cell. Nominal voltages, right here. Okay. Now you're probably saying, well, Paul, how do I know to get there? Right? How do I know to get there? Well, This is one of those ones that, let me tell you, the three-wave method. This is the one on an exam. If you don't know, you mark it and you go on. This is a second wave one. Why? Because it can take you down a rabbit hole. You're going back, you're not going to see anything on lithium ion. You're not going to see anything on storage batteries. You're going to see batteries in 480, but nothing in there. You can get lost in that. That's batteries in general for the application, installation, and whatnot. Here, I'm just trying to find out what's the voltage per cell. So that is a voltage question. So that's covered over in definitions, okay? Article 100. So we're going to go look at that. So that's what we've got here in Article 100. So here we're at, right here, voltage, nominal, as you see right here, okay? And that is it right here. And notice this is new, got a little in there, right there. And notice that it doesn't say anything in here about lithium ion, right? But look at this informational note. What does this say? And you may say, folks, I hear people say this all the time. You may say, well, I'm not going to have any question about informational notes. Yes, they will. If it's in the code, it could be on an exam, okay? Just like theory is not inside the NEC, but it could very much be on an electrical exam, okay? So let's go down here and look. It says the most common nominal cell are 2 volts per cell for lead acids, or 1.2 volts per cell for alkali, and 3.2 or 3.8 volts per cell for lithium ion. Okay, so it's 3.8, right? So let's go back to here, right there, 3.8. And where's the reference? Right there, voltage. Look, what's the point with this one? Prime point is that a lot of people think that the National Electrical Code is designed so that you can use it and pass any exam. You're going to get questions on an exam that you're going to look at and go, well, the code, the index didn't lead me right to it. And you're going to get frustrated. Look, you have a 100-question exam. If the passing score is 70, you can miss up to 30 questions and still pass. I want you shooting for 100. But trust me, if you follow these techniques, you're going to get 1 or 2 or 3 in an exam that throws you a curveball. Make sure you mark them and you move on. Don't dwell on them. Move on. Get them in the next wave. If you haven't listened to my video on 3 waves or watched it, you need to go to Fast Track's Tube and search up into search 3 wave and you'll find it. It's an incredibly important video because it teaches you systematically how you structure and take an exam. But don't give up. I happen to know that breaking down this question, and you will now forever know that you don't have lithium ion as a definition. You don't have what? Storage batteries as a definition. You have battery, right? And then you have 480, which is basically just general information. It's not giving you a voltage. It's talking about installation of storage batteries. So this is a voltage question. So I went to definitions and looked under voltage. And basically it said cell right there, okay? So anyway, hopefully you get something out of this. Again, the point of this one was the index is not always going to be the holy grail. But you look at the question, use a little bit of knowledge, dissect it, and understand if you don't get it, mark it and move on. You got plenty of time to come back and tackle it when you've got a little extra time on your hands. All right? Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe to our channel because we have a lot more training videos coming up, even calculation videos in future. Till next time, stay safe. God bless.